Huh. I guess it's just not going to play.
Okay.
So
What's
here-
up, everybody?
Happy New Year!
New
Yay!
Year.
well,
Way
at
to
least,
start off the new year right with that screw up.
yeah. I mean, weird, right? That is, huh? Yeah, I don't
Coming
know.
in with a bang.
I don't know why it didn't play. That's bizarre. Oh, here. Welcome in, everybody. Whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world, this is Coast to Coast. New Year, same old Comcast. Welcome to the show.
Happy 2025. Comcast starting us off with
Right? Man. How's your guys' New Year?
Hey, listen, we dropped a keg, the first keg of the New Year's. You may have even seen it on YouTube or on Facebook. It was an exciting night. Uh, just a blast. Great vibe, a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody who came out and celebrated the most Delco New Year's Eve. And as you guys saw, I was dressed to the nines. I got some cool shoes to go along with all that and stuff. It was a good time. It was a good time.
I mean, you were all gold out, man.
I tell you, that jacket won't get worn again for another year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Unless you're in the middle of the ring, right? Like if you get the opportunity to Bruce Banner that thing.
Well, there is a possibility that I may be I may be the officiant at a mass renewing of vows.
Okay.
That
it could work there.
would be that. That would be that code. So
That'd be amazing.
yes, that'll definitely get on YouTube or something like that as well.
You really did look like gold dust in that suit, though.
You know what? It wasn't like Gold Dust had all gold, right?
Yeah, but like the gold suit and the gold shoes, because his wrestling boots looked like the shoes that you had on.
Yeah, I can imagine. So hey, listen, I got a little bit of that. Everybody was calling me Goldfinger.
Yeah, see, there we go.
It's then Ziggy Stardust because it was really more silver than gold.
Yep.
Either way, all of it was. When I did the look, I'm like, ooh, this is a lot of sparkle. So it was fun. It was a good time, and I'm glad. I'm glad everybody got a kick out of it. That's what it's meant for. It's meant to be fun. So it's I mean, I paint up for everything else. Why not for New Year's?
Absolutely. It's funny because for us, we were gonna go out, and then right about the time, I'm watching football, and right about the time my wife's about to get ready, she's like, "What if we just stay home and like watch some TV?" I'm like, "I'm in." I don't have to drive home on New Year's, late New Year's Eve. Yeah, I'm about it. So ended up with a really chill night rather than going out, and it was everything I thought it could be.
Hey, listen, the one thing that I will say about New Year's is it's like one of those times where it's almost like amateur night.
Yeah.
And
I don't mind it if I can stay where I'm going. Right? Like if you're going to go out to a party or whatever and you can get a room out there, I'm with it. Right?
Right.
But when I have to turn around and drive all the way home, I'm not going to be drinking. Right? There's way too many stupid people out there and a million cops. Right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, so it's not even, it's not like I'm going to have a beer or two and then, still do it. It's like, I don't even want to have a trace of anything because who knows the way the night's going to go. Right.
So
If I'm going out, I like to be able to like rent a room somewhere close to where we're going to be and, kind of go about it that way. So if you're not doing that, it's like, man, I'd rather not drive.
we just ended up staying at a hotel like 5 miles from my house, not even 5 miles from our house, because they had like an indoor water park, and my kids like to do that for New Year's Eve. So we just usually go stay the night at that hotel so they can go swimming. And we ended up forgetting something at the house. So I'm like, well, I'm only 7 minutes away. I'll just go drive, pick it up, and then bring it back to the hotel. Apparently, I had a burnt out brake light that I didn't know about.
See, it's stupid stuff like that.
And I got pulled over 5 times in a 5-minute stretch on the way to the hotel from my house. And by the third time, I literally just held my warning out the window and said, all right, here. They got me already. You don't have to keep pulling me over. Just type my license plate on your computer. You will see that I have the warning. I cannot get it repaired till tomorrow. Just wait.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those. I still have to get the car home. Like, what do you want me to do?
It's like I can't go to an auto shop. All the auto shops are closed now because of New Year's Eve. Like, I can't just go and get the bulb and replace it. You literally got to wait till tomorrow. I still got to drive.
Exactly.
Well, I hope that all worked out for you.
No, it's funny because the last cop that pulled me over literally laughed at me. He's like, how many times have you been pulled over tonight? I'm like, honestly, you're number 5 on this 7-mile drive. And he's like, yeah, I just pulled your license plate up on the computer. I'll send out an alert to the rest of the force that they don't need to pull you over anymore. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah,
I feel like there was one last guy that's like, you know what, I'm pulling him over anyway. I'm bored.
Just
yep.
Watch other traffic go by. You know what I mean?
If my old football coach was working, he would have did it on purpose.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So, and listen, and of course, with everybody having a good time on New Year's, definitely hearts go out to the people over in New Orleans and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
That is such a mess. You know, it's like I hope that the justice serves the crime.
The guy's dead.
Well, then I guess it did. But there's more people involved.
Yeah, the guy that did the driving is dead. So the main person that did the driving is dead. But they said this morning they uncovered a lot of stuff, like some video calls that he had on his cell phone. I guess he was a member of ISIS. I guess there was a lot of.
Yeah, well, that's what the flag was, right? It was an ISIS flag.
I guess there was a lot of pre-planning to this happening, but this actually wasn't supposed to take place in New Orleans. It was supposed to take place in Dallas.
Really?
It was supposed to take place. It was supposed to take place the week of the Cotton Bowl, not the Sugar Bowl, because the Cotton Bowl's in Dallas, I think, in like 6 or 7 days. So they had that, and then they don't know what happened, but apparently he just got divorced from his wife and a bunch of other stuff. So then he just kind of said, "F the plans. I'm going to do this my own way," and he just rented the truck, drove to New Orleans, and did what he did.
Yeah, I mean,
but now they're going after, obviously, the people that were on the other end of that phone call that kind of helped him plan it, to see if there's more plans in the works.
Of course there's more.
Yeah. So, and it makes me wonder, like, because he went against the grain. Because my expectation is that it wouldn't have been the Cotton Bowl that they were going to mess up. One that would be a little bit more super.
Yeah, well, I was figuring either Super Bowl or the national championship game, like one of those two. Yeah.
But, well, let's say, my hearts go out to the families of the injured, and I mean, there were some people that died during that, right? Like he definitely.
Yeah. So the last number I saw was 10 died and 30 are injured. Now that may go up.
It's
right?
As of this morning, it's 15 dead and 38 injured as of this morning.
Okay, there you go. So, yeah,
including a former Princeton player who died. I guess a Georgia University student that was either in the band or had some sort of role on the football team ended up dying.
Yeah. No, I mean, just a brutal way to bring in the new year.
Agreed.
So,
but wanted to get that done and out of the way because that's not although it's indicative of some of the idiots out there that feel like that they got no other no other thing to do is except cause like this harm and such, and he thinks he's going to be safe now wherever he is at, but no, that's
Yeah.
not the way to go.
Absolutely.
Anyways,
And
on to bigger and better things.
since when
Oh,
is in the
Texas
house?
almost getting their asses kicked.
I was going to say, since when's in the house, we might as well talk about the fact that Oregon didn't fly to the Rose Bowl at all. They just decided not to play football, and as a Husky fan, it was enjoyable. So,
Did anybody have a doubt that Oregon was not going to win?
I didn't think they were going to beat Ohio State twice, but like I said pre-show, there's no way in hell I thought they were going to be down 34-0.
no, I didn't think they were going to get beat the brakes off them. There was no way I had that. I thought Ohio State would win, and for no other reason than Oregon has 5,000 jerseys and no national titles.
Yeah, and why isn't there? I mean, I guess is this something that eventually they're going to start reseeding?
Well, they were already talking about it last night. They basically said when you looked at how the first round of games played out, when you looked at how the Boise State Penn State game played out and kind of the score of that game, they said the 5-12 matchup with Texas and Clemson should have been the 5-12 matchup. Like that should have been your 5-12 matchup.
Sure.
The 7-10 matchup they said should not have been Notre Dame and Indiana. They said the 7-10 matchup should have been Arizona State and Boise State. That should have been your 7-10 matchup because of the level of competition. They said SMU should have been the 11 seed. They should have been playing Notre Dame as the 6 as a 6-11. And then that would have kind of moved, I think, Ohio State up to 5, Penn State up to 4.
No, that was the first thing I said as soon as they did this. I was like, I don't like that it's a March Madness bracket system.
Mm-hmm.
Like this needs to be like the NFL, right? Like the seeding changes based on who wins.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's what it changes into. Because I'm not a huge fan of the way that the bracket system is playing out.
Because theoretically,
and that's why I'm asking. Do you think that moving forward that they will reseed?
I think they should. I don't know if the NCAA will because they find a way to do the wrong thing all the time.
I don't think they'll necessarily reseed it, but I think you might see scenarios where they may look to avoid having conference matchups in the quarterfinal, like an Ohio State-Oregon situation where you may want to make them play in the semifinal and just maybe like do something different that way to kind of remember how the old NFC or how the old NFL playoffs used to be, where even if you were like a 3 seed and a 6 seed, they wouldn't let division opponents face each other the wild card weekend for the longest time ever. There used to be a scenario in the NFC playoffs where after the wild card round, there was some sort of thing. I think it was like from 95 to like 2004. Like if you won the wild card round and you were set to face the number 1 seed who was in your division, you were not allowed to face in the division round weekend. They would bump the seeds around so the division teams did not face each other. I could see the NCAA doing that where, Ohio State's 1, Oregon's an 8. We'll just make Oregon play the 2 seed and move the 7 seed to the 1 seed just to get those teams to be.
Well, I'm looking at it more like, why wasn't Oregon playing Arizona State?
Exactly.
The number 12 seed.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Like that should have been the play. Not that Oregon would have won that game either, because the way they're playing against Texas, Arizona State would have probably won that game. And I'm sure that they don't want that. But that's kind of what I'm talking about there. I mean, they didn't care that Ohio State won against Oregon. In fact, they preferred it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no question.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I can't wait to see an all Big Ten championship.
I really think it's going to either be Ohio State versus Notre Dame or Ohio State versus Penn State in the national championship.
That's what I think. I think it's Ohio State versus Penn State. I think Notre Dame is not anywhere near as good as Penn State, and Penn State ain't as good as Ohio State.
No. I think Notre Dame beats Georgia today just because Georgia's not going to have Carson Beck. I think Notre Dame beats Georgia today. But you look at even what Penn State did against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. I think Penn State actually kind of put that blueprint out how to beat Oregon. Yes, Penn State lost that game, but they put up, 37, 38 points against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game?
Yeah, no, they played well.
That blueprint, that game alone Ohio State did a lot of the same things that Penn State did against Oregon in the Rose Bowl yesterday, and they literally exploited every single one of Oregon's weaknesses that never really showed up during the regular season. But the biggest one being they don't have safeties that can cover wide receivers over the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, too many big plays. Yeah, that just well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you're Fugazi number one. I mean, it's like I didn't think that they should have been number one, but I understand that they were undefeated and they were the only one that was undefeated. So,
Yep.
But I thought Boise State, to be honest, I don't mind Boise State being the number 3 seed in that because they won the conference.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I feel like that the conference winners should get the bye. That's what you get for
Yeah.
being in there.
No, I'm with that.
That being said, it's like, okay, how do you move forward from here? I think they have to reseed. I think that's what's got to happen. You reseed.
I think it ultimately makes the championship games way better.
Yeah. And I think they're going to learn a valuable lesson this year too, that I think strength of schedule, I think, is going to have to go into play also. Because
it's cute that you think the NCAA is going to learn.
Pags feels they should reseed, which I think they should too. But strength of schedule, I think, is going to go into more of a play next year when seeding the initial top 12. Because even everybody said the strength of schedule really wasn't used that much this year when it came to seeding. It was more so you won your conference championship, you're here, you're here, you're here. You're the next 8 teams that are ranked. I think next year, whether you win your conference championship or not, I think the strength of schedule is going to play a role into kind of where these teams get seeded.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, but if you do the reseeding situation instead of brackets, then it won't really matter because you're going to have the movement of a couple of teams, 1 or 2 spots. Like it probably won't matter because you're still going to have your conference champions with bye weeks. So it's not like it's going to move things around a whole lot if they do it that way. But I would prefer the reseeding so that it's more like the NFL as far as that, because then your better competition happens at the end of the playoffs instead of people getting blown out. Your best 2 teams getting eliminated first round. Like I'm not a huge fan of that. I mean, maybe you get a Cinderella type situation, right, where they go on a run. But by and large, if you have 2 of your best teams playing in the first round, obviously one of them is going to leave.
Yes, that's usually what happens.
Right? Every time. The team that scores more points is going to win.
Yeah, they don't have ties anymore in playoffs.
Yeah.
That would really confuse a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And would be irritating to watch.
100%. It's like, oh, these guys just tied. They both move on.
Yeah, absolutely hate ties. The worst thing in sports for me.
You know what? I don't mind ties. Like in hockey
and
I
soccer,
wish that they would go back to having the ties or make wins 3 points.
Exactly. That's yes. If you're not going to do because right now it's 2 and then 1 for the overtime loss, which I don't get that. So yeah, either do like the tie and be 2 and 1, or just go 3 points for a win. Like soccer and hockey to me are the only 2 sports where a tie should come into play because they don't actually go based off of your win-loss record. It does to a point, but hockey
just go to a shootout.
Well, no, but hockey and soccer go off the point system though. Like in soccer, soccer's the same thing. You get 3 points for a win in soccer, 1 point for a tie. So you could have 14 wins and 7 ties, and another team could have 19 wins and 1 tie, and that team that's got the 14 and 7 is going to end up with more points than the other team. That's kind of why I like how soccer and hockey kind of do some of their standings. But
so I don't mind if you're going to play the overtime, you get the 2 points and 1 point, but that means you have to account for a full-fledged win. And that's what they don't do. They only give 2 points for a win outright and 0 points, or 2 points and 1 point. You get the 3-point game. Well, nobody wants a 3-point game. And sometimes that's at the end of the season, that's what you're playing for.
Yeah.
You're playing to just tie the game. You're not even playing to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't like ties. It's one of the things. Like, I want a winner of the game. Even when I played sports, I would rather lose than tie.
Or if you tie, you only get a 1-point win.
Mhm.
Sure.
0 points for the loss across the board. If you tied and you get a point and you go into overtime, then it's a 1-point win, not a 2-point win.
Yeah.
So that's where I have the biggest issue from. And the reason why they're not doing this because they want the parity. They want it all bunched up so that everybody has the opportunity to get into the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. That's not the way it works in hockey.
No.
You know, they keep going into overtimes in basketball. There's never a tie in basketball.
Exactly.
Never a tie in baseball.
Unless you're the All-Star game.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid. But
Exactly.
we're out of pitchers. I guess we're done. Yeah, I was not a fan of that.
And that was when they decided to, let's make it so that whoever wins this game gets home field advantage. Are you kidding me? My hair's all messed up today. I've been wearing hats for too long. Hair tips.
I wore one yesterday too, but we're still solid.
So, but we never got a chance to talk about beforehand. But how about them Cowboys, Joe? How about them Cowboys?
So good. I mean, honestly, that's that was the Giants for me. Was they can't even lose right. You have the number 1 pick dialed up, and then all of a sudden Drew Lock comes out and looks like an MVP candidate, hangs 40 plus, and gives you a win that moves you from the first overall pick to I believe 5th.
Yeah.
Well,
see,
third.
Yeah, 3rd, I think. Yeah, 3rd or 4th, yeah.
No, I think they fell further than that. I thought they fell to 5th.
Nah, they fell to the 3rd spot right now. They are the 3rd pick at the moment.
That's right, because the Raiders won also. That's right.
So, but I, and I kind of expect that they're going to fall even further when they win this game this week. I mean, they're playing the Sister Mary of the poor Eagles, because they asked me if I wanted to play.
And you're like, I already got my jersey. Let's go.
I know. I said, I'm ready to you guys. You can put me in whatever position. They're like, we want you for quarterback. You're wearing the number 11. I'm like, no, I am not playing quarterback.
Not behind that line.
I can't throw a ball. I can catch the ball. I can't throw the ball.
To be fair, it doesn't matter that you can't throw it because you'd be on the ground so fast. It wouldn't make any difference.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'm good at bobbing and weaving. Truth of the matter is that I would love for one time, and I mentioned this before to certain people, I would love in my full Eagles gear, to get tackled one time by a professional player. I think I don't want that player to be like Ray Lewis.
So you don't want to die. I got you. Okay.
But I would love to. I'd love to be able to do like a handoff and try to run through and see if I could get through the line. Like
Micah Parsons.
Not Michael Parsons either. I'm not trying. I'm not trying to get hurt.
Yeah, like
I
a
just
second
wanted
stringer. A second stringer. A guy still doesn't play, but
What about everybody on the Giants defense?
Well, I might be able to run for 140 yards against that defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's. I tell you, I don't think it's sad. I think that I'll be honest. I think that it was solely Barkley's decision, and when you're putting that on a teammate. And he understands, like, listen, it's not just you that's got to play. It's everybody, and listen, the offensive line, there's no way that he plays and the offensive line doesn't play.
Oh, yeah.
The offensive line take responsibility for that as well. You know what I mean? It's like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about any of that. they want that record too.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I feel like the 17th game has come into play on this. I know that people chirping like to say, oh, well, the 17th game, bop, 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 and that, hey, Dickerson, got the record in the 15th game initially, and he went to the 16th game and gained more yardage. So that's where that record stands.
Mm-hmm.
But the 17th, listen,
Except
you only
OJ
have
with 14 games. So I mean,
right, exactly. You
so-
only have the record. You have the games that they put in front of you. This
Exactly.
is the NFL. Listen, all those people chirping, well, we should put an asterisk next to it. There was no asterisk next to Dickerson.
No, but look at how Barry Sanders was towards Ashton Genty. Like Barry Sanders knew back when he set the record that bowl games didn't count for your yardage, and now like the bowl games count
No,
like
they do,
towards
yeah.
your yard. Barry Sanders was cheering Genty on the whole night, hoping that Genty was going to break his record.
Right.
He didn't care like if his record got broken. I think Genty ended up like 26 or 27 yards short. But yeah, like Barry Sanders didn't care. And like I think Dickerson would have been the same way, because I think Dickerson said it before where it's like, it is what it is. I played with these amount of games. This person plays with these amount of games. If they're going to break it, it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it.
So Slip, this is where you could have looked at it apples to apples. So say they were going to play him this coming game and to reset the record, and people would have been like, oh, he had an extra game, which is, obviously he had an extra game over OJ. So I don't really know why we're crying about it anyway. But the biggest thing is he needed 101 yards to break the record, and he has 35 less carries. So there's no way they were going to give him 35 carries. So if he did break it, he would have.
No, he had 179 yards and 17 carries the last time he played the Giants.
No, but that's what I'm saying is there's no way that they would have handed it off 35 times to him. So had he broke it, it would have been in fewer carries than Dickerson anyway. So even if you were complaining about the extra game, if you're looking at it per carries, he would have beat it outright. So, I mean,
and the truth of the matter is that, everyone says, oh, well, Dickerson did it in an extra game.
Yes.
He actually broke the record in the 15th game
Yeah.
and then played a 16th game and ran extra.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So it took him an extra game to break the record, and then to set the final score on the record was on the 16th game.
Yes.
Where they handed the ball to him. He was the entire offense. They didn't have anybody really at receiver. I think it was Everett was the only receiver that they had on that team, and he stunk. He was only he was like late in his career at that point. Yeah. So they had nothing on offense except to run the ball, and they gave it to him 30 times a game, just about.
Exactly.
It was like somewhere between 25 and 30 times a game. And he got most of his yards. If you remove the fourth quarter from those games, you would find that he only had about 1,200 yards. That he got all of those yards in the fourth quarter because they were beat up from having to try to get him all the time. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that, but you understand though that makes sense. That they fed him and fed him and fed him, and then in the fourth quarter he started to break free a lot of those times. That's how that worked back then. That's what made the differences back then. Yep. I don't remember the Rams winning a lot of Super Bowls back then either.
Nope.
No.
What I can say though is, I think the Eagles having the number 2 seed had something to play into this, because if this would have been the old playoff format where the number 1 and the number 2 seeds had that bye week the first
100% he would have played.
Then I could see him
no doubt in my mind.
Because then you have that bye week after where you get, even if he plays the first half, he can
That's
easily
exactly
break,
it.
He can easily break off 100 yards.
They would have. Well, he wouldn't have easily broken off 100 yards because he is playing against another team. And I don't care what the Giants say. Like everybody's saying that they think that the Giants don't want that.
Exactly.
The Giants don't want to be made fools of. So ultimately, that's not going to be the thing that really.
I don't care how bad your team is. Nobody wants a record broken against you, because that lives in the record book forever.
Right. I think it's just because the Eagles have that game next week and they don't have that week off to rest players. They're kind of treating like this as like that first round bye.
This is the bye week. Like I said, I got the phone call the other day saying, "Hey, do you want to suit up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I twinged my back the other day doing a commercial. I just ain't got it." Yeah.
I mean, true, but you don't want it to live in record books forever. Like people will forget about a 4 wins.
And let's face it, in another 3 years, when they move to the 18th game, this record's going to be broken.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
And it's going to get shattered.
Every record will be broken when they go to these 18 games. Touchdown passes, passing yards, receiving yards, catches,
and everything's going to be shattered, and it's going to set a new plateau on all of this. You know what I mean? So it's not. I am not concerned about this right now. I think that the concern should be, let's get everybody healthy. Let's make sure we learned last year playing that last game that we really didn't need to play. And AJ Brown gets hurt. Oh, no AJ Brown in the playoffs.
Yep.
You know, let's get our butts whipped by Tampa. And me sit there going,
sad panda. Yeah. No, so I'm not surprised by this, Rob. It's
how are they supposed to capitalize on it if Philadelphia is not playing them? There's nothing the NFL can do about it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's why I say I'm not surprised.
This isn't basketball where if you're not going to play your guy, that they're going to hold. We're going to do an investigation.
Yeah, you don't play your guy. All of a sudden, they're like, "Well, you can't win awards." It's like, how about just make the players accountable? And
that's like saying the players that get voted into the Pro Bowl that end up going to the Super Bowl. That's like saying, "Oh, we want you guys to play in the Pro Bowl because you got voted in." It's like, no, I have a Super Bowl next week. I'm not coming to the Pro Bowl and risking getting hurt because someone wanted to do something stupid.
Yeah, that's why I liked the Pro Bowl being after the Super Bowl.
Oh, I did too. I honestly wish it was in the middle of the season like every other All-Star game. Just to use it because right now you have the 17. Do like week 9 or week 10 is a universal bye week.
No one would want to play.
You don't even have to have a game. Don't even have a game. Just do like a skills competition. Use like week 9 as like a universal bye week where everybody has the same bye week. And then week 9, week 10 can be a Pro Bowl skills competition. You just do skills competitions throughout that week that everyone's off.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of people would opt to not play.
Yeah. I think that it's, like I said, I'm not upset about it. And I think it was bound to happen. That's why they rushed him. He had more touches in this game against Dallas than he has all season long to get the 2,000 yards. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they're saying.
Yep. Frankie, you are absolutely right.
That was definitely a targeting call.
I mean, there's no more clear helmet-to-helmet contact than that hit. There was ever a highlight of this is a helmet-to-helmet, don't do this, it was that play.
And I give Kenny Dillingham a crap ton of credit for how he handled that because he could have completely went off on the referees after that play, and he actually handled himself very well after that call came out and didn't even lose his composure. Really, he's just you can see it on the screen, he got hit in the head, but it is what it is. If that's what you're going to call, that's what you're going to call.
Yeah, so Slip, I think playing the entire game, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that he wasn't going to play this week. I think there was still some question on whether or not they were going to, try and get that record. So, finishing out that game, he gets over 2,000 and he gets within, striking distance. So 100 yards for him in a game this year is a pretty easy bite to take.
Right.
Whereas had he not played in the fourth quarter, still got the 2,000, but now all of a sudden you need 130. That's a little harder number to digest. So I think some of that was they set him up for success if they were going to use it. But I think some of this also comes down to just like he did earlier in the year. I don't know that the record matters that much to him.
Well, it doesn't because you saw that earlier in the game earlier in the season against the Giants. He had a chance to get his career high rushing record, and Nick Sirianni was going to give it to him. Saquon's like, no, I'm good. I got my yards today. I got my touchdown. I'm good.
And he wound up breaking that anyways a couple of weeks later against the Rams.
But I don't think records. I mean, he can say all he wants that he wants the record because I think he did say he did want the record, but at the same time, I don't think he really cares if he gets it or not because he's more about winning at this point because he didn't do much of that in New York.
No, exactly. And I mean, and he's going to win the rushing title.
Yeah.
So I mean, like it's not like he's going to be without accolades this year.
Yeah. Like I said, truth of the matter is that he should really be runner up to MVP.
I don't think he should be runner up.
He should be the MVP,
Yeah.
but I don't think he's going to get it.
Because
Definitely not going to get it.
He's not going to get it, but you take Saquon away from Philadelphia, there's no way Philadelphia is where they're at.
No clue. Yeah, absolutely 100%.
Oh,
100%.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
In
you
my
could
opinion-
arguably say, I mean, realistically, that if he caught the ball and Devonta Smith caught the ball, we'd be 15-1.
And in my opinion, like the MVP is the most valuable player. The most valuable player means the most irreplaceable player in the NFL. Like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they go down. Buffalo, they're not going to be as good. The Ravens aren't going to be as good, but the Ravens still have Derrick Henry. They still have ways that they can win.
If Josh
games.
Allen goes down,
Yeah,
Bills
see,
aren't doing anything.
exactly. Like Josh Allen and Saquon are the two. Like should be like 1 and 2. But like in my opinion, this year, like Saquon's proven that he is the most valuable player in the NFL. This
I
year.
mean, all things being equal, if Joe Burrow goes down, that Bengals team is a 1-win team.
Well, see, that is the conversation that people are having right now, and I was going to ask that now that we're kind of talking about the MVP. If Cincinnati somehow sneaks into the playoffs with
Which
a win,
I think they do.
with a win this weekend, and the Broncos losing to the Chiefs,
Broncos lose to the Chief, and Miami got to lose. Miami has to lose.
should Joe Burrow be in the MVP conversation at that point?
He should be anyway. If stats matter to you at all, he should be in that conversation.
Which I agree, but wins and losses are a lot of the time kind of what they also use as kind of that weighing factor as MVP, even though they shouldn't.
If a team record matters, then he's not in the conversation because there's too many other good teams.
I don't think he's in the conversation if they miss.
If team records don't matter, which in this case, it has nothing to do with that offense. It has to do with the defense is absolutely atrocious. So if wins and losses are what are a deciding factor, then no, he's not in the conversation. If they don't matter, then likely he wins.
That's why I'm going to be curious to see how the MVP finalists come out this year because Barkley, Allen, and Jackson are going to be there, and usually they have
Burrow will be fifth.
Yeah,
He'll
which
still somehow be behind Mahomes.
If Cincinnati gets to the playoffs, I could see Burrow being in the top 4. If they miss the playoffs, I could see Burrow going 5.
I think either way, he somehow ends up behind Mahomes because remember, at the end of the day, this is a voting contest.
Yeah.
And, kind of like whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter.
Right. The way you win don't matter.
So.
I don't know. I think that there's a really distinct possibility that Kansas City doesn't make it to the AFC Championship game.
There's right now, if I'm the AFC, the one team if I'm the AFC right now, the one team I don't want to see is Cincinnati, because that team right now, they've been putting up points in buckets, but all of a sudden their defense is starting to play a little bit better, and if their defense continues to play a little bit better, that offense is going to beat pretty much every offense they go up against in the playoffs.
I think he will be playing a half, Joe. I think that I think that Kansas City goes out there and plays a half. I really believe Kansas City also wants to knock Denver out of the playoffs.
No, they actually don't. They were talking about this morning. Mahomes is actually not even suiting up at all because Kansas City wants to avoid Cincinnati in the playoffs. They don't want to see Cincinnati in the playoffs because that is the one team that has historically given Kansas City issues. Where if Cincinnati gets in as that 7 seed and they upset Buffalo, Kansas City's got Cincinnati right away, and that's not the matchup that Kansas City wants, knowing how much their offense has struggled this year.
I was taking Denver here too.
They're trying to avoid getting a Cincinnati scenario in the playoffs. So I think they said the only starter that is actually going to play is Hollywood Brown because he's been out all season. They want him to get some reps heading into the playoffs.
Sure.
And then Pacheco is supposed to play the first quarter because he missed like 9 weeks with that injury. They just want to get him a little bit more into playoff shape. Otherwise, it's pretty much Carson Wentz and backups.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was assuming, being as they have the number 1 seed locked in, right?
I hope they get so rusty, and it don't matter who they play, that they get their butts whipped.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Looking at how the playoffs are setting up. It's probably going to end up being the Chargers versus Kansas City, that first game for Kansas City. Because I think the Chargers go to the 5 seed. If they go to the 5 seed, they're going to knock off Houston. I don't see Pittsburgh knocking off Baltimore as a 3-6 matchup. And if Denver gets in, Denver's not going to beat Buffalo on a 2-7. So then the low seed would be the
I
Chargers.
disagree about the 3-6. I think Denver has probably got the best opportunity to stop Baltimore.
They have a great
Denver would be the 7 though. Denver can only be the 7 seed. They can't move up in the standings. The only two teams that can actually switch spots right now are the Chargers and Steelers based on how their games go. Otherwise, the playoff field is set for the AFC. Denver cannot get higher than the 7.
Got you.
That's why, like, at this point, I think the Chargers play, I think the Raiders this weekend, which the Chargers should win that. They're going to play their starters at least for a little bit. And then the Steelers.
And the Raiders don't have starters, so
right?
that makes sense.
And then the Steelers. I think the Steelers are playing the Bengals, I believe. So
They
Bengals
play Saturday.
the Bengals are going to be coming with everything at the Steelers to try to make the playoffs. So there's no guarantee that Pittsburgh wins that game. That probably makes Pittsburgh the 6, the Chargers the 5. So yeah, you're probably looking at a Chiefs-Chargers.
Well, and Pittsburgh is at a game time decision for all their starters.
Yeah. So you're probably looking at a scenario where the Chargers get the 5 seed. If that's the case, they're going to beat Houston as a 4. Chiefs would get the Chargers that first game.
Yeah, the Chiefs didn't they manhandle Houston earlier in the season?
The Chargers, you mean?
No. If we're talking chalk.
Yeah, the Chiefs crushed the Texans on Christmas Day. It was like 29-10 on Christmas Day.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
So this isn't completely decided yet. Got to figure out what the South is doing.
If they both win, I really believe that the Eagles to get through to the Super Bowl is going to have to beat everybody in the NFC North.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way the playoffs are sitting, the only way the Packers move up is if they win and Washington loses. If both teams win, Washington gets the 6. If both teams lose, Washington gets the 6. The only way the Packers move up is if
a win and a loss.
And that's why I think at this point, I think the seeding stays the same because I think both the Packers and Washington are on the same boat wave where they don't want to see Philadelphia that first round. So Washington's going to start their starters against Dallas for a little bit because they're going to try to get enough points in the first half where they can sit in the second half. Packers are going to go out and just try to crush the Bears because they're going to want to at least have some momentum going into the playoffs. I just don't see either one of those teams losing, so I don't think the seeding's going to matter anyways.
Plus, it's the Bears. The Packers want to dunk on them the last game of the season anyway.
Yeah, because don't they own Chicago?
I mean, Matt LaFleur is 11-0 against them. The Packers are what, like 26-4 the last 30 games against them?
Yeah, no, it's a ridiculous number.
Yeah. So, well, we will see. We'll see how that all works out here in a few days. Yep. But
yeah, a couple days really, because I mean,
who do you guys
think Saturday games coming up?
Who do you think is the 1 seed in the NFC?
Man,
Detroit.
That's the way I'm leaning too. But
I think it's going to be a close game. I'll be honest with you. I think Minnesota gets in their head a little bit. I think they come out too fired up, as funny as that may sound, and they make mistakes because of that. And it's like I think it's going to be a shootout game, and I think it's going to come down to a couple of defensive plays, and I think that Detroit being at home is going to be the final factor in this.
Yeah, I think Darnold will make more mistakes than Goff will.
If Detroit's defense wasn't as depleted as it was, I would go Detroit. Just being how depleted Detroit's defense is right now, I trust Minnesota's defense to make the one stop that they need to make. I'm not saying a turnover. I'm not saying anything like that. But if it comes down to a 4th down stop to either win the game or if the game is tied, instead of kicking the field goal, you go for it on 4th down, I trust the Vikings defense to get that 1 4th down stop.
I hear you.
I mean, Sam Darnold, what he did against Green Bay last week should be all the proof Minnesota needs to sign that guy long term. Like, he absolutely carved up the Packers.
I mean, so I wasn't going to talk about this today. I figured we'd talk about it tomorrow, but might as well since
there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that I'm going to be here tomorrow because I'm going to Detroit for the game on Sunday night because my boss is flying me out there. I don't know what time he's flying me out tomorrow. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about it today.
Oh, okay. Well, cool then. So yeah, what do you think they do with JJ then? So say they sign him to a long-term deal. Do they entertain the rumors of a Miami phone call to them?
If he's signed to a long-term deal, in my opinion, JJ's traded because Minnesota wants to at least get some draft capital back that they gave up to trade up to get Dallas Turner last year. You trade JJ McCarthy to a team, even in the top 10 that needs a quarterback, whether it be the Giants, the Raiders, anybody in that top 10 that needs a quarterback.
Nobody's going to give you a number one.
They don't need a number one. They can get a number two for him because they did give up 2 number twos last year to get Dallas Turner. If they can get one of those number twos back, that gives them at least a little bit of capital. But if they franchise tag Darnold, which is where I think they're leaning just to see if this was a one-year fluke or if this is the system that actually fits his strengths perfectly, I think they keep both McCarthy and Darnold that way. If you franchise Darnold and he ends up struggling next year, then you know that he's not your long-term answer. You still have McCarthy there versus –
See, that's kind of the way I lean, is I would want to see another year of this from Darnold.
Yeah.
Before giving him a big contract, for no other reason than there's been a lot of quarterbacks through the course of history that have had one good season, right? Where they just played out of their mind one year and were very average other years. So I would want to see a little bit more. Now, obviously the league has changed into if you're good for 7 games or more, one time you're getting paid, I guess cool. But if I was the GM, I'd be like, yeah, let's run this back and see if you are this guy or what's that.
At what point do you say, where does that line in the sand get drawn then? Because as you're saying that, I think of, okay, so imagine now
Thanksgiving
that Minnesota wins the Super Bowl.
So I would either way, we're Super Bowl first round.
If you won a Super Bowl.
If you want a Super Bowl, it's long-term deal without question.
Yeah, you sign it
without question.
Go to the Super Bowl.
I would say if Minnesota, I would say if Minnesota gets to either the conference championship game or the Super Bowl, regardless if they win the conference championship or the Super Bowl, Darnold's getting a multi-year extension without question.
I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because if they were to go to the NFC Championship game and have another game like they did against the Eagles in 2017, I'd be willing. That quarterback was a makeshift quarterback and was doing fantastic, and then he pooped the bed. The pooping of the bed is what dictates the contract after that, because he was slated to get a contract, and then that game occurred.
That's the way I look at the Super Bowl. If you get to the Super Bowl, either way, I think you get paid. If you fail in the championship game, I don't think you do.
Depending on how you fail, though. Like if Minnesota goes into the championship game and they lose 34-31, Darnold throws for 300 yards with 3 touchdowns and 0 picks.
Sure.
At that point, the loss is not on him.
Even a pick. Even with
even one pick. But if he does, basically if he hit, because he had 3 touchdowns and 1 pick against Green Bay.
No, because you can pin that on your defense then.
Yeah, so then like at that point, then I could see Minnesota being like, all right, here's a 3-year, $140 million contract. You get $100 million guaranteed. We'll run it back the next 3 years. If he goes into like a first round playoff exit or like their first game they're done, or he just basically craps the bed in the playoffs, then I can see a franchise tag this year because there's guys like Aaron Jones that says he actually wants to retire in Minnesota. He's a guy that is probably going to get maybe a 2-year deal, and you could probably get him for 2 years, 15, 16 million, which that's not a big contract for Aaron Jones. It's still reasonable, $7.5 million a year. You have other guys.
So would you franchise him? Because that would be like 48 next year
for Darnold?
Yeah.
41.
So would you franchise him, or would you sign him to a 2-year deal that was front loaded, that had an exit, so that maybe it wasn't as much as a franchise tag?
That's what I would kind of do what the Packers did with Jordan Love last year, how they eliminated Jordan Love's 5th-year option and basically gave him like a 2-year, $50 million contract, but they made it more money that first year, less money the second year before they gave him that extension. Like that, I'd be fine with Minnesota basically saying, here's a 2-year, $80 million contract. You get $50 million year one, whatever, $30 million.
And I tell you what, if I'm Sam, I don't take it. That's
you bet on yourself.
That's where that goes.
Yeah, That's
I
that's
don't
kind of
take it.
that.
After the season I just
Yeah.
had, I am not taking a 2-year deal.
That's why I think.
consider a 3-year, but that's it.
Yeah, that's why I think right now I think it's either going to be a 3 or a 4-year deal, is what it's going to take to keep Darnold in Minnesota.
Well,
Or
he's 27, right?
27, yep. Like it's going to
Yeah.
be a 3 or a 4-year deal between 45-50 million a year to keep him there, or it's going to be a franchise tag because if Darnold basically bets on himself to sign that franchise tag and then has another good year, he knows he's going to get 50 million on the open market the next year. I don't think there's going to be a scenario where it's a 2-year deal.
50 is low.
Yeah. I don't think there will be a scenario where it's going to be a 2-year deal. It's either going to be the 1-year franchise tag to try to run it back with the roster they have now and kind of fill in the pieces they need to fill, or it's going to be that 3-year extension and be like, this is your 3-year extension. You are our guy for the next 3 years with this core group of players we have.
Because I tell you, if I'm Darnold, I don't sign the franchise tag either.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting in as much as I think
41's not enough anymore.
right.
It's not enough.
It's going to be a very interesting situation just because there is nobody, myself included, that thought Darnold was going to do what he did. Like I expected Darnold to have a good year. I expected
The
him.
over-under was 6.5 games.
Yeah, I expected him to be in the running for comeback player of the year. Like I expected him to go out and throw like 25 to 27 touchdowns, win maybe 8 or 9 games, and keep Minnesota in playoff contention. But
So is he not in the running?
Oh, he's got it locked up. There is nobody even close to taking comeback player of the year.
He cannot win comeback player of the year. Cannot win it.
Who
Because
can?
they changed the rules for it this year.
That's right.
It cannot be you were just terrible and came back and played well.
Yeah.
You cannot win it for a lack of opportunity anymore. It has to be coming back from an injury or something like that. So
Well, if they had the old rules, he would have it locked up. If they had the old rules, he would have it locked up. He would have had it locked up probably by midseason.
Well, and it's funny because going into this season, I thought for sure this was going to be his ability to resurrect his career. I didn't think they were going to have the year they're having.
Heck no,
Obviously.
nobody did.
I did think that he was going to have a good year because he finally had a team around him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's no way I saw the record that they currently have.
Well, like I know everyone looks at that final score and says like Minnesota almost gave the game away, which you look at the final score, you can kind of make the case that they did. But they did exactly what they did the first time against Green Bay when they went up 28-0. They went up 28-0. They held a 28-10 lead heading into the fourth quarter, took their foot off the gas a little bit, let Green Bay get close. But then when Minnesota needed that first down, they put their foot back on the gas, got the first down. Same thing last Sunday. They had
that's hard for any team to do.
Yeah, they had a 27-10 lead heading into the fourth quarter. They took their foot off the gas for 8 minutes, let the Packers get within 2. All of a sudden, that last drive, they put their foot back on the gas and said, nope, we're not going to run it 3 straight times. Play action, 14-yard first down. Run. Oh, play action, game over. Like, if they would keep their foot on the gas, they probably beat Green Bay by 20 points. Like, they were absolutely dominating the Packers on every facet for 3 quarters. Like, Jordan Love had the worst game of his career through 3 quarters in that game.
And Rob, simply probably not because of the resume difference.
Yeah.
Purdy will get paid more because he's just had more success, certainly more postseason success. So
that's
that'll be the deciding factor there. Purdy's going to end up in that 50 to 55 range just because that is the standard market. I would imagine that Darnold would be, somewhere in that upper 40s to right at 50 is kind of where I figured Darnold would end up. But
yeah, Darnold. Now that quarterbacks have gone into the 60s, if I'm Darnold, it's got to be a 50 plus.
And honestly, for
53, I could see that. I'm just saying that Purdy is going to make more than Darnold.
Like I would even be fine with Minnesota doing like a 4-year, $200 million contract on Darnold and making it like 130 to 140 guaranteed. You're giving the guy $50 million a year. But if it doesn't pay out, then he's still making $35 million a year, and he's getting 140 of that $200 million guaranteed.
Yeah, and with the way that the cap is going, that ultimately becomes a discount in 2 years.
Yeah, and heading into the offseason, Minnesota has the 6th most cap space as of right now. And if that cap goes up, they're probably going to be around that number 3, number 4 range for like the most cap space available. They can afford that. They can afford giving them $50 million a year, and they'll still have plenty of money left over to make other moves.
No, for sure. Absolutely.
That's just going to be the one, I think, big off-season kind of topic that you're going to hear a lot for the first couple months of the offseason, because that's going to be ultimately the one problem that Minnesota's never had. They've never had a situation where you have more than one quarterback that you trust, and they've never really had a situation where you have to decide what quarterback you give the franchise to, because you had Fran Tarkington in the 70s and 80s. He was your guy.
Sure.
Then you had Warren Moon in the 90s. Then you had Dante Culpepper for 7-8 years in the early 2000s. You thought you had Teddy Bridgewater, but then everything happened with him, with his knee, whatever. But then you had Kirk Cousins for 7-8 years, but it was always just that one guy. Now it's like we have a 27-year-old who we can give the keys to for 5 years. We have a 21-year-old who we can give the keys to for 5 years. So now Minnesota's in that one situation that they've never been in before.
Oh, don't forget about that Jones guy. Man.
Never a dull moment.
That's for sure.
First show of the new year, all sports. All sports.
Yep.
How about that?
Yep.
Kicking
And
off the new year right.
not only is it the first one of the year, but it concludes our first full year doing this show, because we started on the second last year as well. So for
Happy
everybody that's been watching this whole
anniversary.
time, thanks for joining us, and lots of craziness to come. Other than that, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. And of course, if you're on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Peace, guys.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.